Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to attend this webinar. This is also being recorded for our members and will be on our websites and various other social media outlets of ours, apart from the currently live social media. So I'm not really sure how to, you need no introduction. You're a global figure. Asia is a global brand. Since I read somewhere that it was September 1st, 2001, just over 20 years ago, that you took over Asia. Is that correct, Tan Sri?
September 9th, 2 days before 9/11.
Oh, right. Okay. And of course, then the airline's been a most remarkable story. Having won, I think, is it the 12th consecutive Skytrax award, and having flown 80 million passengers, I believe, in 2019. All that was going great until along came COVID, which has affected everybody. And we thought we'd start off by just hearing you tell us some things about, your perspectives, the good, bad, and the ugly as we go forward. I mean, obviously there's light now finally at the end of the tunnel, but many challenges as well. And we thought you could tell us a little bit about, some of the your challenges and where we can look forward to in normal air travel again. When rather, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No, sure. Thanks everyone from the Malaysian Australian Business Council, and thanks Dinesh for inviting me. Where do I start? We've had an incredible journey from 2001, but I mean, this airline has always been, nothing's been easy for us, and it started with signing the deal 2 days before 9/11. Can you imagine buying an airline after 2 planes crash into the Twin Towers? And so nothing's come easy for us. We've had SARS, bird flu, tsunamis. We lost an aircraft in Indonesia, which is and continues to be the hardest time of my aviation career. Worse than COVID, to be honest. And then I thought I'd seen everything. And I used to say in speeches, you can't challenge me. I've done everything. I've been, attacked by national carriers, criticized by prime ministers in the front page of newspapers. I've been there. I've done it. Then COVID comes along. So nothing can prepare you for COVID. Nothing can. But in some ways, we always were prepared because we always had to face challenges throughout our 20 years. And that's the good. The good was, this is the ultimate test. This is the ultimate test. We're not completely out of it yet, but we're still alive, which is remarkable because, our largest airline is in Malaysia, and we've been in lockdown for 10 months, and yet we're still alive. That shows the strength of the brand, the strength of the people, the strength of the management to have survived this so far. The good was that throughout this period of 20 years, I always said the most important thing to ensure survival in this modern era is the ability to change, ability to transform, ability to innovate. And I always quote big brands. I mean, Dinesh, you gave away your age, but at one stage in your life, there was only Nokia phones. No one has a Nokia phone anymore. When you were taking pictures of women on the beach, you used a Kodak Instamatic camera. That isn't around anymore. And so, BlackBerry more recently. And so innovation and change management has always been central to our DNA. And it was really tested in COVID. And again, we're not a success yet, but the fact that in Penang, we're already number 1 in ride-hailing. In Langkawi, we are number 1 in ride-hailing after only 2 months. Shows that we can innovate and change from an airline to delivering food to doing a taxi service. That has been the good. That has shown that all these things I talked about is that, we're very versatile, we're very agile, we can change. In what is the worst crisis, we actually were able to do it. So that was the good. The good also is that very few companies get a chance to redo what they did 20 years ago. Whatever you do over the 20 years, you become fat, you become inefficient physically as well as mentally. And running a company, I have a chance to, strip away all the layers and rebuild AirAsia in the way it was 20 years ago. That's the good. The bad is, well documented, 250 planes on the ground, having to let go of 3,000 staff who did nothing wrong, great people. And I'm determined to bring every one of those people back before I retire. The bad is uncertainty as to when things are going to change, and that's still happening. And the ugly is governments, how governments have handled these crises all over the world. And being in the front line, we see we're the most frustrated at some of the handling of some of this. That's the ugly part. The ugly part is the unfairness of vaccine distribution. The unfairness of how money is distributed to your competitors versus yourself. So that was the ugly. But, the ugly is a small part of, there's always a positive. If I have a plus, I'll always find a positive out of something. And the positive of COVID was it enabled us to do all the stuff that I mentioned earlier. The bad is well documented, and the ugly I've just mentioned, but that's the smallest part. Life is a funny thing that you live through COVID, and that is a success by itself. That's a victory, to be physically alive, two, to have your business still alive, is, as far as I'm concerned, is a victory, right? And there are not many generations who have lived through a pandemic. So while our forefathers may have lived through World War II, I dare say this is probably worse than World War II. And the Japanese occupation, or Germany invading your country, or whatever, but Pearl Harbor. And we've come out of it, and hopefully we'll all come out of it stronger, better, and hopefully more together.
Yeah. No.
So you asked, the future of air travel. I didn't answer that. That's why it's a very long answer. But I think we're at the beginning of the end in Asia. Obviously, Europe and America is further ahead. We've had draconian measures here. I just came back from the Ministry of Transport to say, look, either we're a zero policy country or we're going to open up and we're going to live with this thing. Can't be in between. You can't say, well, let's open up everything, but then we need 10 messages to 10 PCR tests to come into your country as a tourist, right? So we're coming out of that. I do believe within 6 to 8 months, with COVID pills coming and better testing and all these things, that it'll be like 9/11. When after 9/11 happened, there was a lot of security. Then we got used to it, and security got better. Health protocols will get better, and I think towards the end of next year, we should get to a more normal situation.
And with all these, plus of course the escalations in various things like costs and freight and different things, you must be facing the challenges of a higher cost model, isn't it, Tony, going forward, at least for now?
Well, I mean, if you took the whole fixed assets, we do, but I think our costs will come down,
right?
Because we've been able to strip away a lot of cost, we've used COVID to finally persuade airports to use better technology. Today we launched Faces, which means you can check in with your face. You'll be able to pay with your face soon. You'll be able to check into your hotel with your face soon. So a lot of contactless. So costs will come down eventually when we're all flying. Notwithstanding the price of oil, which is out of our control.
Right.
But
Yep.
yeah, I think hopefully this we've had many battles with airports and other airlines, but we recently formed an aviation and tourism forum, which includes a lot of bitter rivals, and that's one of the good things on COVID, that we all know that this ecosystem, while we're competitors, we have to get the ecosystem back together.
Yeah. And I mean, in 2019, you flew, was it 81 million passengers, and then you got 2020 and most of 2021, right, with the fleet on the ground.
It's all right. It's like that snakes and ladders game. You go up to square 97, and you're all the way down to 3, right? I mean, we had grown in 20 years, and it is. Chinese Prime Minister said to me, "AirAsia is a fairy tale," and it is really. 3 guys from the music industry, a government civil servant, and an Irish dude go and build this airline from 2 planes to 250 planes, from 200,000 passengers to 81 million, which was the 4th largest airline in Asia. The 3 Chinese airlines were bigger than us, but they had a slight advantage of 1.5 billion people in their country. But it's an incredible story, and then suddenly to see it just vanish, literally vanish, is quite something. But I love a challenge, and we've got one now. So
Yes.
but it's fun. I flew to Penang yesterday, and the staff were so happy to see me. And we go back to the good. The good is this amazing culture we built in AirAsia. Everyone's so positive. Everyone's so thankful. Everyone's so excited. It gives me so much energy, right? When I go into my plane, and from the cleaners to the captain, everyone wants to take pictures, and they're all energized, right? You're like, wow, this is going to be a great ride, building it up again.
And they are happy, and they're really genuinely happy.
Yeah, I mean, I post some videos on social media, and it's fun. It's just fun. People are having fun again, and that's nice.
So it's sort of almost a rebirth of Asia, and you've had one addition in the family too. So it's all happening.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Dinesh, you're a religious
And you've
man.
got Asia.
Yeah, you're a religious man. I'm not so religious, but this is like Christ rising, right? So if you can picture me as Jesus Christ coming out of with a red cat, it's the second coming of Christ.
So I wanted to ask you a bit more about the digital platforms. I think not many people know a lot about it, and so you touched on it about the delivery service. Are you going to expand this? Do you have other plans afoot?
Yeah. We've got basically 3 kind of key digital companies. There's a super app, which has kind of 4 functions. Travel. Well, we want to compete with Expedia and Agoda and all these other brands. Delivery, where we will take on Grab and people like that. We want to do ride hailing. We're going to do express delivery. We'll take on DHL and others. We'll be the cheapest and the fastest to move documents or courier packages around because of our airline and our depth of our network, and food delivery. And then we have fintech. Just like we made travel accessible, we want to make financial services accessible through Big Pay and other, we're building our own stockbroking and investment portals so that anyone could buy stocks and shares and gold. And then finally, a platform business where we will offer our database to other companies to monetize from. So that's a super app. And then we've built this great logistics company, which I think could be one of the great logistic companies in Asia, to move goods from A to B as quickly and as cheaply as possible, and to make it simple. Everything we've done at AirAsia is about inclusivity, building value, building a sense of community, and making it accessible. So logistics to a lady who's selling products in deepest Indonesia, but selling products that could sell anywhere across Asia, is difficult for them to comprehend and buy cargo space, etc. So we want to make, as we made passenger service easy and accessible to everyone, we want to make logistics as easy for the common man as for big companies such as yourselves. So that's teleport, and then the final one is Big Pay, where our vision is to make a bank like AirAsia for SMEs and the public.
Right. I just want to tell the people our colleagues all on this webinar that if you have any questions for Tan Sri Tony Fernandes, you can post it, and the moderator will pick it up, and I'll see the questions. Obviously being the Malaysia-Australia organization, people will want to know when AirAsia will resume flights to Melbourne, Sydney.
Yeah, I
Sydney is.
Australia has been one of the kind of zero COVID countries, but now even they have begun to open up. And I just came back from the Ministry of Transport, and they're now working on a VTL with Australia and New Zealand. We are starting our first flight to Sydney pretty soon, and Melbourne will follow soon after that. So I never thought I'd be saying this so quickly, but we're definitely going to be starting Australia. We're going to start selling. Actually, it's on my Instagram. You can see that. Sydney, here we come.
Okay, right.
So I didn't particularly do it deliberately for the Malaysian Australian Business Council to announce
of course
flights to Sydney and
timing is good,
but they are going to start soon.
Right. No date yet?
I think in December. We're just waiting for the final approvals. Right. The key, though, as I've been encouraging all governments, is to make tourists accessible, right? I mean, people coming in have 2 vaccines. They've been pre-tested before they leave the country. Let's get rid of quarantine. There's no requirement for it. And let's get rid of extra testing, okay? Too many companies have tried to make money out of COVID. And I have an aversion to that, especially these hospitals and lab testing companies. People have brought down the price of home kits, but the price of COVID testing has been the same, right? And the depreciation on that equipment must be 100 times over by now. And so I've been making a noise about price gouging at laboratory testing. Private hospitals and lab testers have always got away with murder, but it's about time someone speaks up.
Yeah, I did my test this morning for me and the wife. It's still 500 ringgit for 2 tests, so it's not gone down.
Exactly. I think the cost of the test is about 30 to 40 ringgit.
Yeah, yeah. So just to digress a minute, I was going to ask you about football and not being able to see your team play for quite a while. So is that far from your mind?
That's always a bad thing when we're losing. But we're doing well at the moment. Yes. Ruben Ganalingam has led from the front. I've been a more supporting role, and we've gone back to AirAsia principles and potentially Westport principles of building from the bottom. And so we really invested in the academy. We've got really good young players, great culture, and we're 5th at the moment. The young team, they made mistakes.
I've been watching. Yes.
Yeah. We're as good as anyone. So let's see. Early days, but
early days. Yeah.
And I hope it'd be great if towards the end of the season I can get out there and have a look.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is at least in the UK, even though numbers go up and down, the people are back watching football in stadiums, and it's great to see the crowds again.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, you know, you think about, you know, I've just come back from America and Europe, and everything's open, right? I think, look, cases are going to go up and down, but death is going to be minimized because most people are vaccinated. So we've just got to get on with it. You know, we've got to get on with it.
Yeah.
I think doctors have become too powerful, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah. Ramesh, sorry, to check with Ramesh, do I carry on or I've got a few more questions, but a couple more. Any questions posting from our group, Ramesh?
Chairman, we have one question on the chat group. If you click on that, question should pop up.
Yeah, I've read the question.
Yes.
Okay.
It's coming out in 2 days' time for the Singapore SOP. You know, I mean, this is one of my frustrations, and we had a good meeting with the Minister of Transport, you know, and we constantly have to work with the Ministry of Health, who is overly cautious to make it simple. But basically, you know, it's going to be one PCR test and there and back. If it's within 48 hours, then you can rely on the one PCR test. You don't have to test twice. And I'm obviously pushing for antigen testing as well. But I had good response from the Minister of Transport. You know, the guys we have to really work with is the Ministry of Health to, you know, I mean, if you think about it, everyone who's coming into the country would have been tested and have had 2 vaccinations. So the chances of, you know, major tourism clusters pretty remote. You can look at Langkawi. We carried over 200,000 people, and the people who had COVID on the pre-test was 0.05%, right? So, and there was no outbreak in Langkawi from tourism. So we just got to talk common sense. But the SOP, just to answer your question, I believe is in 2 days' time, and it's basically pre-test before you go. You arrive in Singapore, they will want one test, and if it's within 48 hours, you don't need another test, and if it's more than 48 hours, then you will require a test to come back to Malaysia.
Right. Okay. So many of our members who, you know, are people in the, you know, they either mostly in SMEs and, you know, small and medium industries, a few of the big Australian investors here in this country, but many of them are in small and medium industries. And you've talked about your experiences and, you know, what you've gone through, but and many are struggling. Many are clearly really struggling. We know that. So, any advice, any thoughts, Tony? Any your wisdom to share?
Well, I don't know about my wisdom, but basically, I mean, all I can tell you is that cash is king. Obviously, that's the key word. Don't be too hopeful on lending from banks, etc. So you really got to manage your cash tightly. And it's an opportunity, right, to pivot, to look at your present business and to see, you know, with this whole new digital world, on how you can take advantage of what has, you know, I call it the CD moment. For those who are old enough, when you went from cassette to CD, that was transformational. Now there's a second one, CD to Spotify, right? CDs are dead and everyone's looking at Spotify. So COVID has been the digital moment. You know that even Dinesh thought other people were watching on FaceTime. He got half the word right, but it's actually Facebook. So you know, Dinesh, who never knew anything digital, has got a headphone in him and is on Zoom and thought everyone else was on FaceTime, which is 50% correct. So everyone has become digital. So how do you pivot your existing business into that? And then the other advice is the strongest element for AirAsia. How do we, you know, one of the worst things to do in this period is to stop advertising and building your brand. It's always the first thing people will cut. But how do we become number one in Penang on ride hailing in 2 months? Because we've got a phenomenally strong brand. I've always invested in the brand, and you know, I sponsored Manchester United. We did Formula One. We did all these things,
Yep.
And that brand is so valuable. I wore my cap every day, for many years. All our planes had AirAsia.com for a long time. So brand is really incredibly strong, and SMEs don't use that power. And there's so many new branding tools to build your brand via social media, traditional press, etc. So don't cut your branding during this time. Pivot your business where you can. Manage your cash. That's obvious. And another thing is look for new markets. SMEs have traditionally always gone to a certain market. Look at breaking the supply chain and going direct, and looking at going up through new markets, because the digital world will open you to new markets. And then I think a smaller company has a bigger opportunity. In fact, a new airline would have a good chance of building very quickly, because they're getting cheaper planes and they're coming in at the right time. They don't have the legacy costs, right? So for an SME, this is an opportunity to build market share and to take on some of the bigger boys. It's effectively what we did at AirAsia 20 years ago with 2 planes against everyone else. 9/11 shook everyone else up. MAS, Singapore Airlines, all were badly affected by 9/11. And so we came in as a brand new kid on the block and grew so quick before they really took us seriously. I always say, first they laugh at you, then they kind of attack you, and then you finally win, right? So this is a great opportunity for you to go build market share and take on some of the bigger boys as SMEs. And the final piece of advice is, I'm a big believer in partnership. And how we're growing is we've been acquiring companies, but acquiring through partnership. So we bought the ride-hailing company, but gave him shares and said, let's do this together. I'm buying your management talent, not really your business. And we just acquired yesterday in Penang a food delivery company. So partnerships is a great way, and share, and as opposed to just paying cash, which we're all tight on, look at sharing some of your equity. I always say 1 + 1 in the right partnership is equal to 5. So some ideas for the SMEs out there.
Right. Thank you very much. Yes, much appreciated. Ramesh, any other questions?
No, nothing, Chairman.
Nothing. Okay. So, Tony, I know you're a busy man, and it's been very kind of you to give us this time. Are you traveling soon? You're going?
Yeah, I'm flying to Johor in a little bit.
Okay. Oh, today, right?
Yeah, and then coming back, and then tomorrow I'm going to Korea.
Going to see your newly born
baby.
Yes, your wife.
She's 100 days old.
Wonderful!
In a few days, which is a bigger Korean thing than a Malaysian thing. But yeah, so I'm excited to do that, and hopefully can come back and forward easier now with these VTLs. Korea is going to have a VTL with Malaysia very soon, and more countries coming. So the ability to move around will be much easier, which will be good.
Yeah, right. Well, have a great trip. I'm sure you're looking forward to going to Korea. I'm being a bit older than you. I'm going to Melbourne to see my grandchildren tomorrow night.
I'm not really much older, but
you are not much older. You mean I'm not? I'm quite
my
a bit older.
My daughter's getting married, so I'll be a grandfather soon as well. So I sent a picture to David Beckham with my daughter, and he said, "Wow, you're a grandfather now." So I will be confused as a grandfather for many years to come, for sure. There we go. That's not so bad.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks very much, Tony, for your time. It's been wonderful having you on MABC, and we hope that sometime next year, when things resume normality, we can get you at a social event for a bit of. We have various networking events, and we'd love to have you or Asia present at one of our events. But obviously, we've not had an event for 18 months, for 20 months now. But hopefully next year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Australia is a big market for us, and both from the logistics standpoint and obviously tourism. And we look forward to, our Sydney flight and coming together. And yeah, with our new businesses, we've worked with Afterpay in the BPL sector. We have many connections in the Australian industry now in the food area, for instance, on our AirAsia grocer. We are starting a online supermarket as well, just to finish off that, so that your council kind of understands what we do. Apart from the three major businesses, we have a venture fund which have invested in an online grocer. So we've been working with many suppliers of exporting Asian food to Australia and bringing in food into here. Fish from Sabah, etc., are going to Australia. So it's AirAsia grocer. And then we have built an academy where we're actually going to tie up with a big university in Australia. It's a tech academy. We have now trained, I set it up to train our own staff, and we've trained 3,000, and now Bank Negara and many other people are joining up to sign up for courses. We did that with Google, and we're about to tie up with a very famous Australian university as well. And we're doing a lot of stuff in the health industry as well. Started with health tourism. It's an interesting point, pre-COVID, one of our biggest health was Chinese coming for IVF into Malaysia. And the second one was Australians coming to Malaysia for dental work. And so health tourism and then now we're building a whole health vertical. And finally, AirAsia Games. We're also doing some interesting stuff there. So yeah, anything that your members could partner with us, work with us, we're always open.
Terrific. You started up by saying now everyone can fly, but fly has become a much bigger term than just physically flying in the air.
Yeah, we now say now everyone, we drop the fly and we say now everyone can.
Yeah, right.
And, we want to build this community.
Great line.
Call ourselves the Republic of AirAsia, where you can have a
terrific
lifestyle.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much, Tony. Thank you for your time.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great trip, and thank you very much on behalf of MABC. Take care.